choosing celebration, breaking into freedom. You're the song of our hearts. We cast aside our shadows, trust you with our sorrows. You're the song of our hearts. Dancing to the rhythm of your heart. We're rising from the ashes to the stars. You're the joy, 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 light in my soul. The joy, 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 making me whole. Though I'm broken, I am running into your arms of love.
Thank you, girls, for joining us today while we celebrate. How did that feel to celebrate?
So fun!
I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. All right. All right, now that we have gotten all 5 keys, so we started with affirmative prayer, then unification, then realization, then thanksgiving and gratitude, and then release and faith. And now we're going to celebrate. We get to celebrate what we already know to be true. Yes, that's one of them, being happy. Sometimes it's so exciting that it's hard to contain yourself. Yeah. So I think now would be a good time for our mindfulness activity.
Now that you've laid down your mat or blanket, close your eyes and breathe softly, slowly, and mindfully. Imagine you are floating on a raft down a gentle stream. If a thought comes into your mind, let it float away like a leaf on the water. Smile with each breath. Notice how your face changes. Do your cheeks move up? Do your lips open? Does your jaw relax when you smile? Do your eyes lift? Keep breathing and smiling. Pay attention to any changes in your body. Can you feel your smile in your heart? Now relax on your raft for as long as you need. You can take inner smile with you when you end this exercise. Okay, when you're ready, just come back to the room.
All right, so today we're talking about celebration. And so at Unity, one of the things that we really believe in is being grateful and happy and living from a sense of feeling like we've already got everything that we've asked for. So we went through grateful, right, our attitude, gratitude, and what was the last one?
I release and have faith.
Right. So that final step, I think, maybe, in having through faith is using our gratitude to be grateful for what we already have and just knowing that what we are asking for is already here, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and read our story. So for today's book, we're going to read The Power of Henry's Imagination by Sky Byrne and Nick George. The Secret, The Power of Henry's Imagination by Sky Byrne and Nick George. Henry's favorite toy was a rabbit called Raspberry. Raspberry was white with floppy silver ears and a red nose that looked just like Raspberry. Sometimes Henry was sure that Raspberry smelled like raspberries too. Henry and Raspberry had been together a very, very long time. 5 years, 3 months, and 11.5 days to be exact. Grandpa had given Raspberry to Henry the day Henry was born, knowing they would have many adventures. Everyone could see how much Henry loved Raspberry. From dawn until dusk, they did everything together. One morning, Henry decided to take Raspberry to the veggie patch to teach him how to dig up carrots. But Henry couldn't find Raspberry. Henry looked for Raspberry in all the usual places, like underneath Grandpa, on top of the lamp, and inside pillowcases. But Raspberry wasn't anywhere. Then Henry turned his whole bedroom upside down, but even that did not unearth Raspberry. Henry was starting to feel worried. Henry got his mom and dad to help him search the whole house for Raspberry. By the time they finished, the place was a huge mess, and they still hadn't found Raspberry. With tears sliding down his cheeks, Henry went to Grandpa, who was sitting in his favorite armchair, reading one of his favorite books. "Grandpa, can you please help me find Raspberry? I've looked everywhere." Grandpa put his book down, pushed his glasses down his nose, and leaned forward. "Henry," Grandpa said in his warm, knowledgeable voice, "if you looked everywhere, then there is only one thing left to do. You must imagine that you have Raspberry back." "Imagine I have Raspberry back?" Henry repeated, wiping away a tear with the back of his hand. "Yes, Henry. It's very simple. You just have to imagine that Raspberry is with you in this moment." Then Grandpa sat down and started reading his book again. He didn't say another word. Since Grandpa knew more than anyone else who had ever lived, Henry decided the best thing to do was follow his advice. And so Henry began to imagine. When Mom called him for lunch, Henry imagined that he and Raspberry were explorers climbing a mountain. They got caught in a terrible storm and found shelter in a cave. Raspberry had to cook a can of beans for them to eat. When Dad sent him outside to play, Henry imagined that he and Raspberry were pirates on a ship full of rare treasures, steering their cargo through the crocodile-filled sea. When he went in for dinner, Henry imagined that he and Raspberry were astronauts sent into space in a flying saucepan to count all the stars in the universe. When he went to get ready for bed that night, Henry imagined that he and Raspberry were dragon catchers walking silently through the forest as they searched for the mysterious purple dragon. Henry had so much fun imagining his many adventures with Raspberry that he completely forgot Raspberry was lost in the real world. In fact, when Henry went to bed that night, he fell asleep as quickly as he did when Raspberry was in his arms. Later that night, Grandpa heard a knock at the door. It was Malcolm, the mailman, and he was holding Raspberry. "I found him lying on the path," said Malcolm. "I would have missed him if it weren't for his silver ears shining in the moonlight." "Well, well, well, imagine that," Grandpa said with a wink. Imagine that. The end.
All right, so the power of Henry's imagination. So remember in the book how he lost his rabbit and he was always with him, he did everything with him, but then when he realized that he was lost, Henry started feeling very sad, right? And so what he did, he went around looking for the rabbit and he couldn't find him anywhere that he was looking through. So finally he went and asked his grandpa. You remember what his grandpa told him? That's right. If he's already looked everywhere else, then all he needs to do now is imagine that he has it with him, right? And so Henry did just that. He went around and he continued his day and he imagined that he was taking all his adventures with his rabbit. And by him doing all of that, he forgot that he was sad and that his rabbit was missing, right? So that's kind of what we have to do. Remember when we were talking about realization and just letting it go? That's what Henry did at that moment. He just let go of his sadness and continued about his day and imagined his rabbit with him. And finally, that night when he went to sleep, what do you think? You remember what happened to the rabbit? It showed up, right? That's how it works with us. When we just let it go and just say, we're gonna have faith that God's gonna give us what we've been asking for, and it'll come. That's what we need to do as well. Just like Henry imagined his rabbit with him, you can also imagine that you already have what you've asked God for.
All right, so you might need to help, either get help from a sibling or from your parents, and you're gonna trace your body. So you're gonna need someone to help you trace your body. And then on the inside, we are going to draw pictures or write things that are us expressing our truth.
All right. So now we're going to trace. Go all the way around.
Now we get to draw some of the things.
So, what are some of the words that you will be writing?
shining, a heart. Looks like trees, flowers, and a tree.
Show how we're all connected with everything.
And how there's so much to be grateful for.
All right, so thank you for joining us today on the final day of Touchstone as we celebrate and bring into being all that we are meant to be, and we are grateful for all of the things that we know are already here and coming to us. So, we should go ahead and do our own.
All right, you guys at home, remember, take your, whatever you want, it is that you want to share with the world, get a heart, or just imagine putting in your talents that you want to share with the world into your hands, and then just do the offertory prayer.
Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all the good I am and have, all the good I give and receive.
Okay, so now we're going to do the prayer for petition.
The light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. We are grateful. All right, so let's celebrate as we exit and move in to the closing. Woo!